This is New Zealand's biggest gap year, an epic challenge that my partner Laura and I decided to tackle a few years back. The challenge 365 activities all around New Zealand in 365 days, and today we are in the Mohaka Canyon. We're going to check out some epic wildlife, do whitewater rafting, we're going to check out some old gold mining relics, and we're going to do some cliff jumping. It's a busy day, so check it out. Today we are joining the team from Mohaka Rafting for an epic, intimate whitewater rafting grade 3 experience on the Mohaka River. So just before we left, everybody seemed really worried about Laura being cold because she, and quote right here, she looks like a racing sardine.
After getting geared up at the Mohaka Rafting base, we are jumping in the van on our way to the launch point of the river, stopping at an amazing viewpoint.
This is one of the geological oddities we have on the Mohaka. We call these the organs.
This lookout is just a taste of how gorgeous and dramatic the scenery is around the Mohaka River. But now we're heading to the launch point where we are getting started for our grade 3 whitewater rafting trip.
But yada, we're having a briefing. The one thing that we're looking at is the couple of blue ducks right in front of us. They are super rare bird in New Zealand. In fact, they are such an icon in New Zealand. They feature on your New Zealand banknote. After this awesome wildlife spotting, we are now on the river making our way through the beautiful Mohaka sceneries. And because it's just Laura and I today, we asked Bill to give us a crash course on whitewater rafting. We basically want to learn everything about it. We've done multiple whitewater rafting tours so far in New Zealand, but we want to know more. We want to go a bit deeper than just following the instruction of the guide. So he takes the time to tell us all the reasons why we're getting some orders, why are we paddling one way or the other, how we're approaching raftings and all those kind of things. It's an amazing way to learn more about whitewater rafting.
Pretty early on into this trip, we realised that this is more than just about whitewater rafting, but there's a few really fun added extras as well. Like finding this gold mining tunnel, which actually there was no gold found here, but it has made a nice little home for native insects like the weta, which is actually one of the largest insects in the world. It's a really cool and slightly creepy place to check out, and it's clearly home to more than just the weta, as we find a little bird's nest in here as well. We get time to take plenty of photos, and actually the guys here at Mohaka Rafting are taking photos for us as well, which is really cool. And then we're getting back onto the river and to start hitting some of those bigger rapids.
After learning all the paddle commands during the really easy mellow section of the river, we are now moving on to the grade 2 rapids. They are not the biggest one that we're going to be encountering today, since we're going to go up to grade 3, but they're still a good taster and a great way to show us that each of our paddle stroke has a massive impact on the boat. Everything is to be taken into account, the reaction time of the people in the raft as well as the rapids size on that very day, because the water level can change from day to day, and every single time you get a different group on the raft, you're gonna get different reaction time and different strength for the paddlers. And speaking of numbers, usually when you book a whitewater rafting tour, if you don't meet the minimum amount of people to go for the tour is cancelled. So if you are you and your girlfriend trying to go on the tour and there is no other people that book the tour on that very day and time, your tour might be cancelled. Well, Mohaka Rafting is the only whitewater rafting company in New Zealand that will allow a tour to run with only 2 people. That's really awesome. And speaking of awesome, one thing that I really like about this tour is that all the people which are involved in this company are actually from the area. It's really cool how they know every nooks and cracks of those forests. And we're about to meet one more, because we are actually picking up one of their team members, which has spent the last 3 days in the bush hunting and just embracing the elements.
The further down the Mohaka River we're getting, the more dramatic the scenery is getting, with towering river gorges covered in native forest, and that also means that the rapids are getting bigger too. We are getting onto the section of the river now which has a lot of grade 3 rapids, which are super fun, super splashy, and pretty technical as well. We really have to pay attention to Bill's paddle commands and really execute them perfectly. We also see seashell fossils in the walls of the canyon surrounding us, which just goes to show that New Zealand was definitely underwater at some point. They weren't lying when they said that. There's also fault lines that we can see and massive boulders, which creates bigger rapids along the way. It really feels like we are in complete wilderness now. We haven't seen anyone for ages, and this just really adds to that whole backcountry experience that Mohaka rafting is all about.
Arriving in the heart of the Mohaka Canyon, the views are getting absolutely stunning. We are surrounded by massive canyon walls covered in thick moss. There is waterfalls everywhere, actually even on our faces. It's so cool. And this is when Bills ask us if we want to stop and actually do some cliff jumps. And of course we do want to do that. Bill is giving us a bit of a safety briefing and then we take the leap. Jumping onto the water, I'm going first and then Laura is following me. It's a lot of fun and the water is really deep, so it's absolutely risk-free. But I have to be honest, with that weather, the river is actually stone cold, so it doesn't take us long to jump back onto the raft. Luckily, we have awesome equipment to keep us warm. We have splash jacket, we have booties, we have a helmet, we have life jacket, and obviously, we do have a wetsuit with a couple of fleece jacket underneath. But despite all of those layers, the thing that keeps us the warmest is the exercise that we are getting. Oh my god, paddling a raft at only 2 people plus a guide, it is quite a sport. It keeps us warm as.
If you want to do this trip for yourself, which I mean, why wouldn't you? This trip is only about 45 minutes away from Napier along the Thermal Explorer Highway. And there's different types of trips you can do on this river. There's the grade 2 trip, there's the grade 5 trip, and there's the grade 3 trip, which we're doing at the moment. And it's a 4-hour long trip, which means you get a whole rounded experience of whitewater rafting, exploring tunnels, seeing wildlife, amazing scenery and cliff jumping. It's a super awesome trip and we're super stoked that we chose this option. After hitting a few more rapids, it's time for Robin and I to get in the water ourselves and raft with our bodies. So there's a section of the river called the Narrows, named because it's a really narrow canyon, and it's an awesome place to drift down the river with the towering gorge walls above you, covered in moss and topped with trees. It's really picturesque and really awesome. During these calm sections of the Mohaka River, it's a really good opportunity for Bill to tell us more about the river, for instance the history of it, because there's a lot of Maori tribes that have used this river for generations after generations for fishing, but today it's more of a popular place for whitewater rafting. There are a few more smaller rapids to tackle towards the end of our trip, which you know we're pretty much an expert at now, so that's no problem for us. And then we get onto the last leg of the Mohaka River to where we are getting out of the river and meeting back up with the team from Mohaka Rafting who are going to be taking us back to the Mohaka Rafting base. But first, that's not without some hot drinks, some snacks, getting ourselves changed for the drive back so we can keep nice and warm. All in all, this has been an awesome all-round river experience on the Mohaka River.
Today there's actually going to be 3 different Narrows section. I've just reminded myself of Dr. Evil then. Narrows. We're going through the Narrows.
Right, Minnie?
Would you like some chocolate ice cream? Anyway.
Alright everybody, how did you enjoy that tour? Honestly, it is one of the best tours we've done in the country, and the fact that there was only so little of us on the raft, we learned so much that was fascinating. Sadly though, it's a video that is really not that popular because I think it's too off the beaten track and not that many people know about it. But that's the thing that we like to do here at NZ Pocket Guide. We like to unearth some hidden gems for you, and there's much more hidden gems for you to check out on nzpocketguide.com. It's New Zealand's largest travel guide. It is 100% free of charge for you to check out. Alright, one of the comments we had the first time we published the video was from Crystal Harris, and she said, would you suggest this to someone who has never done any kind of rafting and whom is only average swimmer? So the team at Mohaka Rafting will be able to advise you a little bit better on your level of swimming, what you need, but if you do have a group of people that come with you, for sure that'll be a great time for you because it's going to be much easier for you. But if it's just like you and the guide now, you definitely need a little bit better level. We are by no means professionals, but we've done a lot of different rafting tours, so we kind of know that when the guide is asking us to paddle hard, we need to actually put some muscle into it and paddle hard, all these kind of things. Alright, if you find this video useful, make sure to hit like and the subscribe button. It's a great free way for you to reward all our hard work, and if you want to pay a little bit of money, you may want to check us on Patreon. There is a lot of really awesome perks for you that are waiting for you there. I guess that's how I'm going to finish the sentence. Alright, bye bye!